Welcome to Chuck's World of Infinite Mojo, brought to you by Holy Chuck Burgers. Our business is burgers.
Good morning, Katarina Witt. There's no such thing as bad boys, only boys with bad hair.
Sponsored by Maxwell's Clothiers, your bespoke tailor since 1961. And now, your host of Chuck's World of Infinite Mojo, Chuck Bastie. Welcome back, everyone, to another episode of Chuck's World of Infinite Mojo. I'm our our producer. I don't know where I got that from, but anyways, I'm Cam LaRock, and of course, I'm with Chuck Bastie, our host. Chuck, what's going on?
That's me. Everything's great in podcast land today. If you see my little blurb on my name there, Hershey is the sweetest place on earth. And if you've ever been to Hershey, Pennsylvania, Cam, it is like the place where dreams are made. You can have anything happen. It's like the most magical place in the world that isn't in Hollywood. And we're going to have a little bit of preamble about Hershey as a place. The Hershey Bears are there. The Hershey Cubs are there. And our guest today is going to be Crystal Boudreau, who is the principal owner of the Hershey Cubs Junior hockey team. And we're going to be talking with Crystal about their organization and what makes it so special. And I'm really excited.
Yeah, I'm excited too. I can tell you obviously are passionate about Hershey. Sounds like a great place. I'm definitely going to have to check it out sometime. But yeah, we'll bring Crystal on the show. I'll get out of here. I'll leave it up to you guys. So have a good show, Chuck.
Thanks, buddy. And we will now welcome our guest, Crystal Boudreau, to the show. Crystal, thanks for coming on the show.
Hi, Chuck. Thanks for having me.
You're quite welcome. So I'm going to start the preamble, obviously, with Hershey being a magical place, which you already know because you guys live in Hershey. And obviously, your husband, Bruce, big-time NHL coach and hockey player as well, coached my beloved Hershey Bears as well to a Calder Cup championship. So before we start, I want to thank you for that. That was very nice. But I thought we'd just start off to ask you why, of all the things that you and Bruce could have done, it's not like you had no shortage of time in your life that you decided to bring a junior hockey team to Hershey 3 years ago. But I thought I'd ask you why you did it.
Well, first, during the pandemic, we started really thinking about where we're going to end our career, where we're going to be is our forever home, as we're calling it. Not that we're ever going to retire, but our forever home. And we've been together 30 years and we've never thought of a place. And then we started thinking, and it was Toronto, no. Indiana, no. California is great weather, but the cost, no. But we both loved Hershey, and we came here in 05-06 when we won the cup, and then we kept our house until 2018 and would come back in the summers, and then we sold it, and then this house came up, which is my husband's dream home on the course in Hershey, and we bought it during the pandemic sight unseen, and so we've decided to make it our forever home. He can continue to work, but we'll rent. I am not moving this furniture again, at least not for a very long time. And it's kind of nice to walk out in the mornings and actually smell like cocoa in the air, chocolate. It can change a bad day into a really nice day.
Like this,
yes.
Instantaneously. When I'm walking in Hershey, and I had, it was 20 degrees every single day when I was there in the fall. And, there's picnic tables everywhere outside Milton Hershey Academy and up the hill and just around the outside area. I mean, I truly love Hershey. I have such fond memories of Hershey. I was raised in Virginia as a kid, and my dad used to take me to Hershey Park Arena, which is the very first place I ever skated. There was an old abandoned rink they knocked down 20 years ago behind the old barn. It's now yeah, and it's now a ride that's there, but it used to be a small little outdoor rink that was kind of covered with a roof. But I used to skate there, and I think that was the greatest, and even the smell of my nostrils. When I went into Hershey Park for the first time, I hadn't been back there in years. I walked in the arena, and just that distinct smell of the arena, I was just like, I'm home. And that was and that was my feeling as well. So I got a little nostalgic about Hershey Park Arena. And I'm so glad that you guys decided to call Hershey home as well. But I'm really excited about you bringing junior hockey to Hershey because in my book, I never really understood what the hockey community is so big and so engaged in Hershey with the junior Bears, obviously the Bears, which has been there for like 100 years. They're the AHL crown jewel of the AHL. But then they lose all their talent in their junior Bears organization to go elsewhere. And you and Bruce decided to bring a junior hockey team to the table too, which is a lot of work. Like I'm on a board of a junior hockey team, and I don't envy you for the work that was involved with that. What made you want to give back to the program in Hershey?
Well, when we came here, we do always want to give back. We always feel like we want to leave every community we've been in better than when we got there, or leave our mark. We don't want to be what we call takers. We always want to give back. Hershey has, as you said, a lot of hockey from youth up, but it does not have junior hockey. And even when my son was here, all the kids that were, 16 to 20 would go to Philly, New Jersey. They have a really good player, Jordan Seifert, and he went and played in New Jersey and New York, and then went D1 for Merrimack College. Is a great player, but there was no junior hockey here for him to stay, so he had to go, and that's what was missing. And we said, if we're going to do something, let's. Plus, it gave me an excuse to move my son convince him to leave the team he was coaching to come coach here with us and be closer. But it's something that we can leave and do no matter what. We can do it when we're here. The things I do, the behind the scenes, I can do from no matter where we are in the world with him coaching. When we're here in town, Bruce is at the rink a lot of the days. He'll pop in just to say hi. If he has time, he'll go on the ice. If he doesn't, he'll watch what our coaches are doing on the ice and give them feedback, which is good. And he doesn't want to step on toes, but he has so much knowledge that you got to share it, and the kids will listen. And we wanted it to be part of the community. We want to work with Hershey. We want to be a good partner, and we want our kids to learn that life is better when you give back. And if you truly give back and enjoy it, you will get 10 times over just the joy from helping someone.
I'm so glad you brought that up because of all the years I've been interviewing NHL hockey players, everybody wants to talk to them about, the cliches about, minutes, pucks in deep, 110%, all the stuff that they don't want to talk about. But nobody really realizes that these hockey players are human beings who happen to play hockey really well versus guys who are like great hockey players who happen to be a human being. And when you talk to them about their passion, their foundation, their charity, their community, whatever that is, you watch them light up. And it makes for a much better interview when they're engaged about the topic because, like you said, when they give back, they come back to me and they say, Chuck, listen, I feel really selfish about this because I get 10 times more from my community of, whether it be a hospital that I visit or a church or a community or a town or whatever that is, because when I have bad days, they're in my corner and like, we're all going to go through those swings. And what I noticed with your culture is like, just down in the dressing room, how loosey-goosey the boys were. They all have fantastic hair. I don't know what you guys are doing down there, that your hair program is, but my good friends at Mark Anthony Hair Products, they want to be involved with that because your guys, and they just look so happy and chipper. And, I always say happy worker, good worker. And, you brought up good listeners as well. And there's a big difference between Bruce coaching at the NHL level versus having a junior hockey team. Because the egos are obviously bigger and what you can actually contribute to younger kids moving forward, create those leaders as well. So I wanted to ask you about creating leadership in your organization and the culture that you guys instill, that you say give back as well, and how you make, great people greater.
Well, the first thing we do is when we talk to players, we also talk to parents. When we tell them we will require community service every month, we do require them to be good humans, that winning is not everything. Our organization wants to develop winning in a good hockey player, but also a better person. It's about making them well-rounded and ready to give back. So we do give them the opportunities to do monthly community service. We have clinics and skates with younger kids that they can take part in. After games, if there's a skate, it's required they go out and skate with the kids and talk to them. And sometimes they're a little shy about opening up, but then they'll find that one person and they just open up, and it makes a huge difference on the people around them. And the ones that really engage get so much more out of it, and they'll come to you and be the first ones to volunteer the next time. And you can see when it clicks, that giving back, it isn't that required social thing you had to do in school to get the credit. It's when you actually get something out of it, then they're the first ones coming back saying, what else can we do? We want to do more. And they're not doing it for the credit or for a photo op. They're doing it because, well, after we force them, they're doing it because they get something out of it, and they realize how good it feels. And like, you can lose a game, but like you said, now these people are in their corner and they're supporting them, and the fans and the people you touch. And maybe you meet someone at an animal shelter that you're volunteering at, and then they come to your game. You were a person first, and so then they'll always support the person. And we want all of our players to realize that they are an important person in this world, not just a hockey player.
Yeah.
That they can do hockey, and that'll open a lot of doors, but it is not the only thing they are. And we've been that way through hockey schools. We ran a hockey school for 40 years, turned it over to the kids. The big thing we did with that was all of our kids that aged out that wanted to be counselors had to volunteer the first year.
Mhm.
And they would come back year after year. My favorite thing was always that first year. They'd come to me with a child, a problem child, as they would say. And they'd be like, I was never like that. And I would just stare at them saying, you do know why we have some of these rules, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. And they'd look at me, but it was like a dawning of all kids go through it. And they would volunteer for years and we'd say, we'll pay you now. They're like, no, it's so much fun. We get so much out of it. Because they're connecting with the kids, and then they watch the kids grow up, and now they start coaching and teaching. And Bruce and I both want everyone to love hockey till the day they die. And you can play hockey or be involved in hockey for your entire life. It's not a sport that, like, I grew up doing gymnastics. My body will not still do gymnastics.
No.
And I could coach, but I'm not as active. It's not as a participating one that you can take part in and scream and yell and cheer. They get kind of upset when you yell and they're on the beam, But hockey is something you can be completely involved in the whole time of your entire life. You can score keep, you can volunteer in the penalty box, you can just watch a game and enjoy it, root for your favorite person or your favorite team. And those can overlap and separate. You can be rooting for a team to lose, but wanting one player to do well because you've made a connection with them.
Yeah.
And it's a lifelong thing that we want everyone to love hockey and have it part of their life as long as they can.
I think I was actually really fortunate a few years ago, probably like 8 now. Mr. Schneider, who was the Philadelphia Flyers owner at the time, owned the Flyers for like 50 years. I was interviewing him about 6 months just before he passed away. And he ended up telling me something I'll never forget. He just said, Chuck, we use hockey as the hook to teach kids life skills. Mm-hmm. We get them off the street with the Extended Youth Hockey Foundation, and we bring that to fruition so that way we can actually groom these kids into discipline, into work ethic, into giving back into the community, being part of that, being seen, being heard in an organization as well. And, the culture that you instill as an owner in your organization, it draws sponsors like that. They like being seen inside those themes, which every parent can get behind, because if I'm giving you my kid as a parent, I'm entrusting you with my most precious resource. What are you going to do to make my kid a better person who also happens to play hockey a little better, which would be a bonus, but like all parents just want their kids to be happy. So it's like the experience you're giving them as a good customer service experience with the Hershey Cubs, coming into that culture, the community, the mentorship that you're able to instill there inside the history of that, historic arena that you play in as well. And before we get there, there's some people who actually haven't been to Hershey. So Crystal, what I thought would be a good idea is we could just, take you on a little bit of a picture show of when I was down in November. Cam, if we want to start queuing the pictures up, that's the Holy Chuck truck. The night I arrived in Hershey, just outside Hershey Park Arena. And that's the morning shot with the perfect, sunrise over top of the barn, the old barn as well, which I was really happy to get because it was almost like a religious experience for me as well. We'll just keep rolling this. And there's, me with my Hershey Bears jersey from like 1996 on the right there in front of a great Hershey Park Arena sign. I go inside. That's when it hits my nostrils, Crystal. When I'm home, and right off to the right there, you're going to see the benches from the old barn right there, and right above that will be the Wilt Chamberlain 100-point game that most people don't know. Wilt Chamberlain scored 100 points in one by himself in an NBA. Yeah, right there. So they got that as well, which is a little bit of history. And then I walk out, and this is what my eyes see. And I've been to Hershey Bears games my entire life. Phantoms games were there as well. And I just look at these, I was a little upset by the obviously the seats that were ripped out in the bottom level. Yes. And I understand why, because of the mold and whatnot. And the rink is almost 100 years old. But I mean, just seeing that, warms the cockles on my heart right now. I just love that arena. It's like it's connected to my childhood. And even the paint, you look at the, all the decals that are on the ice there as well. Hershey Park Arena, you got Hershey in the top right corner, the Bears, your Cubs are on the left-hand side there. Then there's the college on the right.
Yep.
And, there's a better broad shot of that as well, which is just a good looking piece of ice as well. They still have the Hershey Bears logo on the chocolate and cream Zamboni in the old barn there, which is great. And then we get into your dressing room. And I was going to ask you, did you guys have to renovate this as well to put that all together?
We did. And when we were doing it, I will say my husband and I had different visions, and I kind of took over. And if it hadn't worked out, I would have been in a lot of trouble because he didn't see what I was trying to do. And it worked out. It looks great and it works. But let's just say he was doubting me there for a while. And if it hadn't, I'd been in trouble. But and there's Nate.
There's Nate. Nate was actually a little shy about posing for this picture as well, and I had to give him the reason why we were posing for this picture, so I didn't come off as the creepy guy. Because Nate was like, "Why?" It was like, "Because we're going to throw out the vibe, Nate. We're going to throw out the vibe and make you famous on the gram." So then he stood there for it as well. So that's the inside of the dressing room as well. The guys were so great to me as well. I spent a little bit of time with each one. I went to their stalls and introduced myself and talked to them as well. There's your monster of a goalie who's 6'9". Yeah, and I could literally stand behind him. I jumped up and down, and the guys on the other side could not see me.
Yeah, most people think when we say 6'9", that's in skates, but that is without skates on. Yeah. There are several doors in that old building that he has to duck in.
Oh yeah, yeah. He's and this is what I want to ask you. So here's your Cubs jersey. What's with the halo over top of the Cub? I didn't know that.
So the halo represents the part of, as Bruce and I say, you can be a little pesky on the ice, a little disturber on the ice, but once you step off that ice, that halo has to go up. You need to be a good community partner. You need to be a good teammate, and you need to be a good person. So that's the giving part of being with the Hershey Cubs. That represents what is good about us off the ice. And that is just as important to us as on the ice.
So would that still go with Brad Marchand if that was the case? Because we know he can't be good off the ice as well. So
he can be good off the ice. I don't think we've found out if he can be good on the ice.
This is right.
So, because I'm sure we'd have a few players in his corner because he probably does so much. The worse they are on the ice, the majority of them are so much better off the ice and give so much back. They just don't put it out there.
I could be okay with that. I'm okay with that as well. Is that Joey there?
That's Joey Gambino. He was our 2-year goalie that aged out going to
college. What a great name. And actually our sponsor Padskins, Mark from Padskins, donated these Padskins for the goalies as well, just to kind of doll their gear up as well.
Yes.
But that was a little bit more, you guys are a little bit more creamy, and that was more maroon. So
sometimes it's hard to find the cream, and the Junior Bears use a lot of maroon. But when we worked with Hershey to do this, we only have certain colors that are approved. Yeah. So we have to be fairly careful with them.
And here's a stall here. There's Ricky Leas on the right-hand side there as well that I wanted to try and bring up a little bit because I wanted to throw a little shout-out, some healing love to that kid as well. Obviously, Ricky went into the half wall and, had a hit from behind and broke his back as well. I think we have a next picture. If we can roll that next picture. There he is there. Good looking kid. Great flow on the kid as well. Great hockey hair. just a good looking kid out there. I don't want to sound like Don Cherry there, but I just wanted to throw a shout out to Ricky as well and have you just, talk a little bit about him as well and how your staff was able to make a really crappy situation tenable.
Yeah. So he actually wasn't hit from behind. It was a late hit.
Okay.
It was not from behind, but it was very late. It wasn't a good hit. The kid was ejected, but it wasn't the predatory hit from behind. It just happened to be that perfect hit where when it hit, he went into the boards on his side and pretty much broke his back. He had several cracks, fractures, torn ligaments. It was very, very scary because he couldn't feel his legs. He couldn't move, and we didn't know. Very luckily, we work with Penn State Health, and they are the best here. And our trainer never sends us on the road without preparations, meaning every player's medical history is on this laminated 8x10 piece of paper with their name, address, allergies, any medicine, doctors, their billet family's information for contact, their home family, our team doctor. So we have a team doctor as well as trainer. And all of that is on there so that if something like this happens, when they go to the hospital, that is handed to the ambulance. And all of a sudden they can operate so much quicker and faster because they have a lot of details. They know how to get hold of mom and dad. They know if there's an allergic reaction to something. They know what medicine they're on or if they're being treated for anything. That is all thanks to Courtney White, our trainer. And she updates them, she keeps them going, she checks on them. And as soon as it happens, like not only was the league notified and I was notified, our trainer and doctors were notified, who then reached out to the hospital to work with them, so that when we were getting live information as quick as they were, and then when he did transition from there, they coordinated all the care and moving it back to Hershey and staying with his billet, getting him to all his rehab, making sure all his appointments, our trainer set up all the appointments, worked with the doctor, made sure everything went smoothly, checked on all the appointments, made sure he's doing what he should do, helped him do his rehab at the rink while the players were still playing. And then when he transitioned home, she did it again, setting it all up with his family doctor, his doctors at home. And our trainer and doctors still reach out to him, check up on him, make sure they know where he's at. Now, the good news is he is walking. He had a walker, but he was at our final game, dropped the opening puck. The people that took him to and from games didn't mind that he had a walker because he got to park right by the door and they didn't have to walk across the parking lot anymore. But it looks like he's going to make a full recovery. It's going to be a long road. He's not there yet. He has a couple things that aren't quite healing the way they should. But he has made such huge progress from what immediately happened to how it's turning out. And he's had a lot of support. There's a lot of fans reaching out, a lot of people in the entire USPHL reaching out, as well as we were playing the PAL Junior Islanders, and they went to visit him in the hospital to be sure that he was still getting, visitation, because he was there for about a week. And then he got to transition back to Hershey, and now he's at home, and his mom, Nicole, and I just spoke, and, still dealing with some paperwork, but he's on the road. And it was a horrible situation, but the Penn State Health and the teams and everyone working together made it the best you could hope for in that instance.
Yeah, and you mentioned Penn State Health as well. I just wanted to kind of, go over, obviously we're in Canada, so it's a different situation. So the healthcare systems are different as well. But just speak a little bit about like what difference it makes to have a partner like Penn State Health in your corner.
So Penn State Health has the most amazing hospital here. People are aware of trauma centers. So most places are a level 1 trauma center for kids or a level 1 for adults. So when there's like a family accident, you get sent to separate places. Penn State is both. Here in Hershey, a little town of 14,000 people, I believe, our hospital is a level 1 trauma center for both kids and adults. We have life flights in there. And Penn State gives us the same medical care that they give the Hershey Bears. We have a full-time trainer by Penn State Health. They arrange all of our doctor's appointments. We have an assigned team doctor, and our doctor and trainer are available 24/7 to our players. Our doctor stops in once a week to check on them and more if something's going around. She's at every game. And at games, not only do we have our doctor and trainer, but we'll also have either fellows or additional trainers or maybe an additional doctor that's coming and checking it out and helping out. So we get such great support. They are there for all of us, and not just to be at the arena. They schedule our appointments, they follow up, they make sure we get in and out. And if the kids have to go home, they arrange the appointments with setting them up with care once they go home. So it's not just I'm going to treat you and send you. It's a follow-up care and a full way of doing it. And Penn State does that through everything they do. They have an incredible kids center. And one of the big things, we've all heard of St. Jude's Hospital, where you don't pay. At Penn State Health, they have a children's ward, and Penn State University does a fund to raise money. No child with cancer, when they go to Penn State, ever gets a bill either.
Good.
So it's one of the few things that, most people don't know about, but it's for a town of 14,000 or less to have that great medical care is unheard of. And then for them to support the junior team as well as the team. And our trainer also fills in for the Bears trainer when they have things they need to do. So it's not like we have a junior trainer. She is a full-fledged, she's been doing this for many years. She's amazing. She's really good at listening to the kids and also calling them out. She's a mom, so she gets both sides of it. But Penn State has been, sometimes they think they're going to get away with it. And she's like, no, you got to love her. But she's there to support them in every way she can. And the other thing they focus on besides physical is they're very big on mental health, making sure our kids are in the right mental space and giving them resources if they need someone to talk to, because mental health is just as important as physical health. And sometimes we let that go by the wayside. So with Penn State, we have someone looking out for them both ways. And when we talk to parents about coming here, that's my big thing to tell them. As a mom, knowing that there's someone looking out for my child, not only physically, but if they would notice that he wasn't acting the same or was being withdrawn, because some of these kids, they come here, and the first time they see their parents is Thanksgiving. Well, that's September, October, November. That's 3 months. And the first time you ever do that, that can be very, very difficult. Adjusting to a new way of life, being on your own, being responsible, and not having mom there to see every day, or dad. So they look out for all of it all around, and it's a really great thing they do. And we love our partnership, and we hope we keep going for many, many years with them.
I love the fact that you bring up mental health, because I have a saying as well. Obviously, we talk a lot about mental health on Chuck's World of Infinite Mojo, because mental health is physical health. If you don't have mental health, you will not have physical health. Your body will just break down. And so it starts with good mental health. And, I would have had a whole lifetime of experiences different if I would have been diagnosed with ADHD as a kid versus being an adult being diagnosed with ADHD, which explained everything in my life. Like I was like, that makes about sense. That's about right. Yeah, chaos. Oh, it's my twin partner. It's what I do. But what was funny was I got the chance to go down to the dressing room. I was talking with your athletes as well in the dressing room, going around, and they were just so engaging. They were light. They were loosey-goosey as well. And I could really spot where you could see where the investment of the higher ups in management, in the vision, in culture, invests in mental health, because you can see that in the relationships in that room. Because when, like you said, if a kid starts going through a hard time, there's 3 other kids there that are in leadership positions as alternates or captains or mentors or as veterans to rookies. And then that gets passed down. And that's a culture that's built. It doesn't happen. So, you can really go into these dressing rooms, where I can at least go back and see where that program has had that investment from. And again, I don't care about the winning. Winning is a nice little ancillary benefit, but what parents see as winning is the good mental and physical health of their kid and the character which will allow them life after hockey, be great entrepreneurs, be great students, be great partners, have great relationships because of what they've learned in that dressing room. And it really is an education. It's something that they get to connect to and love. But at the same time, if they didn't have that, and they didn't have the draw of the community, and that's where I was going to go next with Hershey, because I thought it was 10,000 people. You say 14,000 people as well, but it's a very small town.
It's under 14,000.
Why are they so engaged with hockey in Hershey? Obviously, there's history there, but there's a continuance of sponsors and people who chime in and volunteers everywhere.
Oh, volunteers are huge here.
And I mean, I spoke with Brian Helmer. I had an interview with him. He's the VP of the Bears as well. And again, the same story goes with the Bears, where it's just ingrained in that culture where that small town, could really support an NHL team if they wanted to, because they have the population to do it, and they fill the Giant Center out as well. But just the impact of your club inside the community and the sponsors. And I understand you're going to be working together with Planet Fitness to put in a gym in the Hershey Park Arena. So just talk a little bit about the community and the sponsors and volunteers that give back into your organization as well.
Well, first, to answer the one part of your question, I firmly believe that Hershey giving back and supporting hockey goes back to. I'm getting rude too. Because he started programs. He not only had the factory for chocolate, but he made sure there were sports programs for all of his employees and their families, because he wanted them to have things to do when they were outside of work. So the whole community has grown up with Hershey and Milton Hershey and the school here, where everything goes back to the school and they support kids, and they keep growing to support more kids and more people that are needed. And everyone volunteers. This whole town is about volunteering for the school, for the hospital, for the Bears, for the Cubs, for the Junior Bears. I don't know if I've ever met anyone here that doesn't volunteer at some point, some level with some organization, which is different than a lot of small towns where they have trouble getting volunteers because they are a small town. So we have volunteers that do the penalty box and help keep score. And Nate, our equipment manager, he has Down syndrome, and he comes in as an intern. He's in every day, helps with the laundry and getting the stuff they need on game days. And the kids love him. He is so full of energy. He takes such pride in his job, and his family supports us. They helped us the 1 year, and now they're a billet family for a player. We have billets. These kids come here and they have to live somewhere. They come in, and our parents asked if we were going to provide a support group for the kids that were leaving, because our billets are so distraught that they went home. And it shows it's a good thing when they're not saying, okay, it's time to go leave. They were like prolonging it. But this whole community comes together. And if I throw out there, like last year I was traveling to Vancouver and back, and there would be games where I needed extra help. The Bears booster clubs would come in and supply as many people as I needed. And then if I posted it online, all my friends, everyone I've ever met are like, what do you need? We're there. And there'd be so many people willing to help and make it successful and support our vision, which then becomes their vision. And then it's all to put a smile on someone else's face, which in turn puts a smile on your face.
Yeah, I can't stop smiling. I just want to introduce everybody else to us. Now it sounds we did our little Hershey Park Arena tribute. I just want to introduce everyone to the team as well. So when I was there in November, I got to watch 2 games. You had the home jerseys as well, but it was Veterans Day. That weekend I was there as well. So there they are wearing the blues for Veterans Day as well. So I'm just going to have Cam roll these pictures in 10 or 15 second increments, and you can just feel free to comment on these as well as you see them.
Yeah. So with Military Appreciation Night, it's military first responders. Everyone got into the game for free. That was a first responder, military healthcare worker. And then we auction off the jerseys, and a portion of the proceeds go to support a military function. Usually it's defending the blue line. It's also been the Johnny, I'm blanking on it now, but it's another organization that helps active duty military get help they need or with their kids in sports. Obviously, this is them lining up. They were not about to skate. I believe that's at the beginning of the game.
Yeah, they're just lined up there as well. There's Joey there.
Yep, and then that's them talking. I think that the goalie from the other team. I like that our players aren't afraid to connect with the other team.
Yeah.
Have a moment. Usually it's at the end of a game, not the beginning. And they just say, thanks, have a great game. You did good. Making sure we know it's a game, but being human is more important through each.
I think so.
We always do the anthem. 99% of the time, Christina Bruno volunteers to sing our anthem for us. We've had a couple other singers who are great. At last minute, we will have a recorded version, but usually we are lucky enough to have a live anthem singer.
Mm.
That's
There's another
you.
guy. Look at that, right in front of that Cubs logo, right on top of the ice there, with my
Yes.
salmon jacket.
So we had someone drop the first puck. It was, I can't see who that is from here. I believe it was a son of a veteran. And then they come out, they drop the first puck, they get to keep it. We try and do a lot of things that the pros do, get the kids used to how it happens, why they do it. Um, the meaning of more than the game. It's these people have a life that's been, as a military child, you move every few years. You don't get a choice. And sometimes you're not given a whole lot of notice. It's just like, okay, up and go. I have friends that are military and their kids, oh, we got 30 days, we're out. But it doesn't matter if it's in the middle of a sports season or a school season. So it's good to give back and let them see that their parents are respected because of what they do and because of what they give up. I mean,
Yeah.
their parents miss most of their games. So supporting the military kids as well as the military is very important. An action shot, yes.
Just drop the puck. Look at the flow on these kids.
Yes. Those are our, most of those are wearing sunglasses because they're in concussion protocol. So they probably shouldn't have been watching the game. Would give them a headache. So the sunglasses would help them. But those are our ones that were sitting out for,
There's
all
Anthony.
4 of those were.
Is that Anthony
Yeah.
the second to the left there?
Yes.
Okay, so Anthony's a
that's-
beauty. I'm just gonna throw that out. Anthony and I got along like a house on fire. He was chirpy. He was throwing out some love as well. And all 4 of them there were just like, dude, where'd you get that jacket? Because it's Hershey, it's maroon as well. Our good friends at Maxwell Clothiers made that jacket for me for this trip specifically because I had to have a character in Johnstown that I was coaching for as a Don Cherry-esque sort of skit. So we want to thank them for that as well. But they're just like, hey, who are you? Like, do you know this guy named Don Cherry? And I thought that was the funniest thing I ever heard in my life. So, do you know this guy named Don Cherry? Are you a Canadian? I'm like, how do you guys know that? He's like, well, because you look like Don Cherry. But those guys are beauties. We spent the whole game just talking life and talk about hockey and, like you said, billeting and working in the community, going to school, not seeing their parents as well, having FaceTime, which helps, coming out of COVID, which was a huge thing for these kids as well, coming out of a pandemic that shut down, the entire world for a couple of years. And now it's the first year where they can kind of really acclimatize back into the normal world of hockey as well. So I thought that was a great spot for us to finish with the rink as well. I have a couple clips that are videos, and I wanted to pull them up just to have people see the energy as well. There's a shot of me down in the tunnel. Kim, if we want to prep that up right now and bring it up and split screen that, so that way we can see the boys coming out of the dressing room all lined up, ready to go. And I mean, Nate was there as well. He was with me, and everybody was fist bumping. Going around, and the guys were just getting all jacked up as well. So that energy is really contagious. When I was down there, I'm 51, but it felt like I was 20 again. So thanks, guys. That was great. If we could do that all over again. So let's see if we can roll that clip, Cam. Let's go. Afternoon shift. Wait.
And there's enough negative in the world. That's, start out with the positive and go from there.
Yeah, that was honestly I want to thank you for giving me the access to get down there and meet the guys and shake some hands and just see how you guys operate as well, because I think it was just a fantastic experience for me being in Hershey Park Arena, but then to see you in action as well with your hands on the floor, everybody working the rinks. And I mean, everybody was helpful. I mean, they were great. They were, what are you doing here? How can we help you? What do you need from us? It was kind of funny because when I was a kid, my dad would take me to the Bears games, and I would go around the side, and there was a couple little ventilation spots in the old Bears dressing room, which is now the college room, I think, for the women or the men, down the hall from you guys. And I would go out there and I would look through the little holes and I'd see the Bears in the dressing room. And there must have been like 1,000 degrees in that dressing room. And they're all smoking back then because it's the 70s.
Oh,
yeah. So then I got to go back to that and just see where I was as a kid looking down in this arena, looking for the big kids kind of creeping them as well, which I thought was kind of funny as well. But there's a lot of good memories in that rink as well. So you've got a big year coming up right now. You're in year 3 that you guys are going. You guys got a ton of new signings. I've seen that on Instagram all spring so far. So I thought maybe you could speak to what you guys have planned coming up right now and where you're going and why year 3 for you is going to be your biggest year ever.
Well, year 3, we've gotten adjusted to the league, like coming in as a brand new team in the Mid-Atlantic division. It's a very strong division. So we needed to get our feet wet, figure out what was going on. And so year 3, we're signing early. We're signing good players. We are bringing back our 6'9" goalie and a couple of our key players so that we can move forward. We've made the playoffs the first 2 years. We want to make home ice this year, which means top 4. We're partnering with Planet Fitness, who's going to put a gym right into the arena. It will be across from the coach's office. So the players will not have to leave to go get their workout in. Our trainer can also monitor their rehab with the equipment we will have, the stretching machine, all the weights, as well as Planet Fitness is giving them all a membership so that if they do want to work out extra when the arena is busy or they're at home, they can go at home or at their billets or wherever they may be. So Planet Fitness has it's becoming an incredible partner with us this year. We're going to team up and get these kids in the best shape they can be so that we can not only push for the playoffs, but push for home ice and push to get past that first round. Bruce is going to be around more this year if he's not coaching. And he won't be as far away. There's no other NHL team that is farther away than Vancouver. So no matter what, he will be around more. But he is already popping into the rink. We have skates on Mondays and Thursdays for any age. Come in. It's a skill skate. We get little groups going on the ice. We put them for an hour. Off time, there's not a lot of rinks in this area, so you get ice when you can. And we're going to keep that going to get these kids interested in the program and moving and keep our kids on the ice at night as well. And Bruce pops into the nightly programs. Not every night. He was there the other day. He's going to run a skills session soon. He may not know that yet. I do have my ways. And then we'll have our tryouts coming up this weekend, and he is going to be there for the first 2 days. We have goalie only for 2 days, and then we have tryouts for the whole team. He is committed on our final day with a promotion with our other owner and angel investor in the program, Bob Eisiminger. And so he's going to be with him, and then he's got to do some commercials and actually work so that we can run this team without getting paid. He brings in the money so that we can give back and do this with all the work that we do. We don't take any money out. We don't take anything from it. And that's what helps us make it work, and we can pay our coaches and we can give them everything we give them. We try and give them as close to an NHL experience, maybe minor league experience as we can. And we treat them like adults. And so this year we want to make that next step from where we're not just a team, but we're a good team. And we're a hard team to play against. And we want everyone fighting. We want to have a full roster, whereas everyone's fighting to stay in the lineup. And that we don't have everyone sitting out unless they're hurt. And then that's not an option. But so we have some new partners coming in this year. Planet Fitness is the first one. We're working on a couple of others just to make this the best year so far and to keep growing.
Yeah, and I'm glad that you brought up the financial side as well, because hockey is an incredibly expensive sport. It takes a lot to make if you don't know behind the scenes of what it costs just to pay your staff, have your ice time, all the tape, all the gear that goes along with it. I mean, especially goalie gear, like they're not giving that stuff away. So I thought maybe we just acknowledge some of your sponsors right now, because I always say we live on a starvation diet of acknowledgement. We're just so stingy with it as well. But it takes, an entire village to raise a kid, but it also takes an entire community to support a hockey team as well. So I thought maybe you could just mention a few of your sponsors and your partners.
So ECS, which is Environmental Cleaning Solutions, they do They clean Milton Hershey School. They clean factories and buildings, and they're growing incredibly well. They're a huge sponsor. Dave Ober and his family run it, own it, and they're incredible people who always look to give back. So they're a big sponsor. Patrick Lewis and the Click Lewis car dealership, they were one of our first sponsors that we went to, and they support us every year. They helped us give a car away in year 1, which was quite unique for our area. We have Thompson Creek Windows and Geico. So we have some big sponsors. Pepsi's a sponsor. We also work with Hockey Monkey and Warrior. John Kirk at Warrior has been incredible to us, helping us get custom gloves this year and sticks on short notice at a discount because their sticks aren't cheap and parents are paying a lot. But we try and supply them with everything, and we get as much as we can from any company willing to sponsor us. We've worked with Howie's Hockey Tape for a sponsorship to cut some cost of tape. Innovative Bus Company. I mean, this year with the cost of gas and inflation, our busing budget was doubled. And the budget wasn't doubled, but the actual bill was doubled from what the budget was the year before. And we only have one close team. Like Wilkes-Barre, Scranton Knights, they're 90 minutes, 95 minutes from us. And that's about the only team, except maybe there's a team in New Jersey, which we did not play last year, that we can go on game day. Everything else is an overnight. We went to Buffalo 3 times last year, Utica twice. We got some long bus trips. And so Innovative's great. They have incredible great bus driver. They help sponsor the team to cut some of the costs. But yeah, if we don't have everyone working together and we don't have our big, huge group of volunteers and the Bears Booster Club helping us, it doesn't get done because ice time's astronomically expensive. And then you throw in, this year will be great because we're going to save some money on the gym. We've worked with gyms in the past, and that's great. But this year, Planet Fitness is just jumping in as a huge sponsor, giving us the equipment, building us our gym, and giving us membership so we can work out as much or when we need it. So if there's a big event in the Hershey Park Arena, or the Bears are kicked out of their arena, so we get kicked out of ours, then we can go right to the gym. If we don't have access to ours, so we always have an option. And Penn State Health is the other big sponsor. If we don't have these people, it doesn't get done because it's a pay-to-play league, and it's not cheap to play hockey. And anyone that's ever played AAA in the U.S., when my son played, tuition was about $9,000, but we paid for all our own travel. We paid for all our own hotels, all our own meals, and all of our own equipment and everything. And then we paid for our tracksuit. Now we supply all of that for about the same price. So when I'm looking at our coaches and I'm like, okay, $10 is $10. Let's save what we can. It's true because it comes down to not hundreds of thousands of dollars, but saving $5 here and $100 there can be the difference in it going and not going. It's a true trick of trying to work that budget because we don't want to gouge the parents, and we don't come back to them for more money. We set our price and then we deal with anything that comes up. So we set the price last year, and buses came in at literally like 53% over the budget. We dealt with that. That is part of what we do. I don't want to go back. We've never did it in any of our other businesses. At our hockey school, it was one price. That's it. And so if we bring in specialty instructors for skills and stuff, that's on us. Last year, we brought in someone to talk to them about the importance of sleep, a nutritionist. We have a team psychologist that we work with. She trades out some of it, and she is great. And so she was a sponsor, and the kids got to work with her. So we try and give them a lot of tools that they can use over and over and use in real life. And it's all built into the one fee. And so sponsors make up the difference in everything else we do.
Yeah. And you know what, like, I think we had Shane Willis from the Carolina Hurricanes on the podcast last week as well. And just the sheer distance and travel that you guys have to face as a Canadian here, we get a little cheeky about an hour drive when we have to go away, and there's weather that goes along with that. We have to put on our winter tires and like gas is twice as much up here than it is down there as well. But like again, like ice time is still hard to come by, but there's more rinks here. There's more coaches here. As far as that goes as well. But the one thing that we actually do have is like we don't have the expense of like overnight travel, then per diems as well that goes along with that. And then the United States has always been a hotbed of like cheaper gas in the world. Whereas Canadians, like we just already know that gas is never going to be, in our back pocket as far as affordability wise. But that is a huge difference that people just don't understand, and parents just don't understand. At the end of the day, like we're just coming out of a pandemic, and I'm already in a tight situation price wise. Why are you gouging us right now? And it's hockey, and it's just like it's the sport. This is what the sport demands, and we don't make up the rules. We're just trying to flow with this. I mean, it's a really tough situation now. Like I said, it makes a big difference if a parent sees the difference in their kid in the metrics of where you had their kid when they started versus they have them back in the summertime in their off-season program, or just spending time with their kid, and like, wow, you grew up this year. You went from a boy, now you're a man. We can give you more responsibility. We like you better, which is a great thing for a parent. I like to like my kid. It's amazing. Doesn't always happen that way. But again, I just wanted to give you guys the acknowledgement for what you're doing in the community, because like I said, we always live on a starvation diet of acknowledgement. And part of the reason why I wanted to have you on the podcast is because I just think that you need your due. Too many people look at, NHL coaches and NHL families and think, but they make millions of dollars, and they do this and do that, and they get to hobnob with all that. At the end of the day, like that's just normal in that situation. Like everybody else in their community, pretty much comparable, makes those same amount of dollars or has that same sort of lifestyle. So it's kind of normal for them as well. But like, I'm a base brat. My dad was in the Army. For me going from place to place to find where I could sink my teeth into, made a huge difference. And, hockey made a huge difference for me because I got to see the world because of that. And one of the reasons why I want to be on the podcast is just thank you for what you're doing for these kids as well, keeping that talent in the sweetest place on earth in Hershey as well. And I just thought maybe just wanted to take a couple of minutes to thank people who made that dream happen, in your personal life, who you got there, with Bruce as well, and just take a minute and just say your thanks.
Well, first we have to thank John Lawn and HERCO, which is Hershey Entertainment and Resorts Company. Without them, it wouldn't have been possible because Hershey technically is trademarked. The name Hershey, to use it in anything, you need a licensing agreement. And so we had to go through both HERCO and Hershey Chocolate, and we did. We followed the rules. And they're a huge corporation who gives back. So for them to agree to let us use the name, we take very serious pride in that. And we're very careful about putting what they expect back into the community. So John Lawn, Vicki Hultquist, Heather Storm, and Danny Strawduck are all at the rink, not to mention all the rink workers. And Mike Schmeltz, who's the head of the Bears Booster Club, who has never failed to get me help when I need it or when my plane is stuck somewhere in one of my 30-some hours of travel between Vancouver and here to cover my shift and make sure it goes. All of our production people, our interns who do our hockey TV, and Clay and Josh and Nicola and our announcer Denny G, who is starting to announce a few games for the Bears now and does the Harrisburg Senators baseball team announcing here, and still loves doing it. He is at an arena, a baseball game somewhere, announcing every time. All these people reached out to us to help, to volunteer, to give back, and we couldn't have did it without them, not to mention all the support in the hockey communities. When I have needed help or a connection, the Bears or the teams my husband's been with or the people we've met have all come through and helped us out and did it. Penn State Health, like I said, but more the people, the one-on-one, my friends the first year when I not only order all the merchandise, I have to sell the merchandise, I have to carry it up and down. And so you've been in Hershey Park Arena. So you carry stuff up and down this antique 100-year-old set of stairs, which means if one person's going down, no one's coming up because you cannot pass on these stairs. So we'd make a chain and everyone would get up and down. And now we've since learned just to load the car, drive around, unload the car. But then at the end of the night, you also have to load the car, drive around, and put it all away. And without my friends doing that and taking up their free time to make sure it gets done, it wouldn't get done. I mean, there's so much on a day-to-day basis of, never forget standing at the merchandise stand and they come to me and they're like, Crystal, the hockey TV is smoking. Did we unplug it? And so being in the arena, there's no easy way. It's run all the way around the arena, down the stairs, unplug it, figure it out, get it rehooked up without that component, go back around. And then there was a problem in the announcing box, which is all the way back around the arena, all the way down the stairs, fix that, go back up. And they just looked at me and they're like, do you need water? I'm like, I need something. But it's,
something stronger than water?
I was just like, first I need a fan because I was roasting and sweating and it's winter. And I'm like, I'm going to just put a tank top on and stand outside for a minute. Because you run around, but then they would come, and if they could figure out how to help me, they would. And the arena workers are incredible, because if the electrical guy's there, he will make sure he finds my anthem singer and gets her the mic every game. So I don't have to run it to her anymore. And when they can help, they do. If they see me doing something, they're like, no, we can do this. You go do something else. Because we go in and we don't expect them to do it, but then they volunteer. And it's so nice to have the support of the local people, the local town, the workers at the arena who are there because they love being in that arena as much as you do. Most of them are retired, but this is what they're doing because they just love the arena. And so they love anyone that wants to keep it in business and use it and respects it.
Yeah.
And we are putting more into the arena. We updid the locker room, and we're going to do the gym, and we kept our office up. So it's everyone in this town and this community that supported us, supported the team, supported the players. Oh, and one other sponsor, Cubby's Ice Cream. They reached out. Their name's Cubby's, and our guys go there. I must say that's one community service event the guys don't mind going to, is an ice cream parlor that's open. And we'll do some events right after our games, and the guys go meet everyone there. And they're like a second year business, and it's just a locally owned business, all local made ice cream. And so they reached out to us, and we love our local sponsors, and anyone that reaches out, we find a way to work with, whether it's in trade, sponsorship, or working together.
I always say this at the end of every show, but it's people helping people. It's powerful stuff. Like,
it is.
When you have people because here's the one thing that we all want. We all have a gift that we want to contribute to something. And if you give my product or a service, an audience that appreciates that, or just gives them the ability to connect to your culture or to your sport or to your players or whoever that is, they get to feel that they're making a difference. And inherently, that's what I think we as human beings, we all want to do. And that helps immensely with mental health. If you have purpose, if you have drive, if you have something that you're connected to, whether it be a church or a charity or a hobby or something like that, you'll just be a naturally more healthy person, with what you want to spend your time with, and you'll have more joy and pleasure inside of your community as well. And that's why I think when I go to Hershey, it's almost like I said the same thing to Shane Willis in Carolina. I was very, very surprised of how connected Carolina was as an organization, because you walk in there and the ushers and the people there are just annoyingly helpful. And I'm just like, usually as Canadians, we apologize first as our preempt. I'm sorry. Were you being taken care of? So there was no sorry, but they're like, sir, Southern hospitality. And I said to Shane, I'm like, how do you train your staff like this? He's like, what do you mean? What do you mean training? That's how they are. That's like Southern hospitality. And they just want to be part of something bigger than themselves. And this is where I think the gift of hockey, if parents can step out of the competitive zone just a little bit and really see that the art of the gift of what you're doing with your child is giving them an education in how to be a better person. Give them great relationships in that dressing room, let them make friendships that will serve them for 30, 40, 50 years. I mean, obviously Bruce is, in that ballpark where he started playing hockey as a good Canadian boy, made the bigs, comes back. We'll bring up the bit at the end here, because my producer Cam actually came back and he said something funny. He's like, hey, did you know that this guy was in Slapshot? And I'm like, I thought that was so cute because he's a Gen Z kid.
It's funny that movie has withstood the test of time. And not only was he in it, but so Paul Newman's apartment in the movie, which was tiny and small, they went in the locker room and they said, who has the worst, messiest apartment? And everyone's hand went to my husband. So we weren't, obviously there's a bit of an age difference. I wasn't with him at the time, but I'm like, did you keep that bed? Because like Paul Newman was on that bed, and he's like, no. But he did
Oh
get to go to
no!
dailies with Paul Newman, and he got to meet him. And Paul Newman said he makes some movies for money, and this one he made because it was going to be a true classic, and he
Yeah.
enjoyed every minute of it. And yeah, it's been forever ago. We used to let my son watch it. I'm like, they're like the language. I'm like, he hears that language anyway. He can learn when it's appropriate and when it's not.
Yeah.
So he never said it. Well, I won't say never said it when he shouldn't have, for the majority of the time. But yeah, he was in that movie, and he had long hair, which he now hates people with long hair. And back then I'm like, that was considered extremely long at the time. You had the Beatles look.
Hippies, yeah.
But he was in Johnstown, and that's one of the first things he did. And I don't think he ever thought it would still be around. But it is, and it's a great movie. It's about more than just hockey. It's about people and the life and what works and doesn't work, and sometimes just doing it all, giving it all up and saying, we're going to be happy.
You know, it's funny you mentioned Johnstown, because like that jacket that I had made for that role, it was actually in Johnstown at the old War Memorial Arena there. And they have a museum in the back. And my friend Josh Pyro runs a Slapshot Cup every fall. So that's where I was down there for that for that coaching role debut of mine. That kind of went viral on YouTube as well. Me screaming at these female hockey players like I am Don Cherry on the bench. And one woman came up to me, and we had to get it with the referees and said, okay, it's going to kind of like be a Shoresy, be kind of Don Cherry kind of esque skit. And so the referees are like, yeah, okay, so you chirp me, I'll chirp you. We'll go back and forth. We'll have a camera person on the bench as well. And make sure all the women know all about this, so that way they're not offended or they don't understand that this is a skit. And like, it's about a minute left in the game, and a woman comes up, and I'm screaming at the ref, expletives flying everywhere. And this woman comes up and she's like, excuse me, sir, I don't need to be offensive, but if you don't like tone your anger down, I think the referee is going to give us a penalty. And I'm wearing this crazy getup. Like, I mean, it's ridiculous. And I look at her, I'm like, what part of this do you think is real? Like, and she really thought I was being funny about this. And I wish I would have taken some pictures of the museum at the back, in the back room in the old Johnstown barn as well, because it's a fantastic movie. My friend Carrie Goulet is very good friends with the Carlsons, the Hansons, and Yvonne Barrett, the goalie, Denny Lemieux, and Johnny Upton, and all the guys from that show as well, or the movie. But I mean, I think that was a fantastic thing. And again, it's great cult trivia that nobody really knows that Bruce Boudreau was in Slapshot.
Yeah, it's funny when it comes up a lot, and they'll be like, really? And it's usually the younger generation just watching it for the first time and wait, that's him? Yes.
Yeah. Cam, can we throw up a couple of pictures of my favorite moment as a Hershey Bears fan as well? Because we showed Bruce before where he was there, and God bless him. Look at that, Gabby. You know, I think that's going to say that's 05, 06 when they won.
That was 06. So it was the 05-06 season. We almost went back to back. We made it to the finals the next year, but some silly goalie by the name of Carey Price stopped.
I was there. I actually showed up for all three games in Hamilton. And I was sitting there when that all went down, and had egg all over my face as being the only person in that arena that wasn't in the Hershey Bears section, wearing my Hershey Bears jersey as well. And Carey Price literally was just I've never liked him ever since. I just have never liked him ever since.
Yeah, he completely ruined that back-to-back. But my favorite memory, or one of my favorite memories of winning the cup, was when he went out on the ice and was jumping, and he has about a 2-inch vertical jump, but he jumped onto the players, and all the players were saying was, we can't drop the coach. We can't drop the coach, because he just jumped right on him, and he had dress shoes on. So if he hits the ice wrong, they're going to go flying. And then my second favorite memory was looking at the pictures later. My son was little. He got to be on the bench for the final minute when they won in Milwaukee. Go in the locker room, and there's all these pictures taken. And when you look at them later, there was an F yes right behind his head on the whiteboard, captured forever. And I'm like, great.
Yeah, great.
But it was a lot of fun, and great memories, and those people will be friends and memories forever.
I remember one of my favorite Hershey Bear memories is, I'm not sure if Bruce was coaching then, but it would have been around that time. I went down to Rochester and watched the Bears coming to Rochester, which is a huge rivalry back in the day.
Mhm.
I think it would have been 04, 05, I think. And there's
We
an
came 05,
enforcer
06. He was only actually coached here
for
for
2 years.
two and a part.
Yeah. And when we were down in the War Memorial in Rochester, there was an enforcer for the Bears, big time AHL guy named Dennis Bondi.
Yep.
Yeah, Dennis has like a mitt that's like Johnny Bench, the biggest hands as well. And I was watching him from the stands, and he's a Bear. He's going around pregame skate, and these guys are all yelling at him. And I'm just sitting there going, "What are these guys yelling at?" And Bondi's tripping back with them. And there's a 3 or 4. I want to say they might have been 80 years old ladies, and they were all knitting. I just knit one girl too. And they were screaming swear words at Dennis Bondi, calling him a bum, make sure he's under the bus after the game, stuff like this. And I'm just like, wow, this is something I've never seen before. They dropped the puck first period. Dennis squares away with George LaRocque from the Americans at the time. Yeah. They go toe to toe. Dennis goes to the sin bin in Rochester. The glass is like 12 feet high. Somebody came down behind Dennis's sin bin and poured a bucket of beer on his head and on his helmet, all into his gear. And Dennis went nuts and chased the guy. Had to go off the ice, change his helmet and all of his gear and stuff like that. I saw Dennis at we were up in the media box at a Chicago Blackhawks game when he was a scout for them. And I asked him, well, hey, this is the one time. He's like, you know what? I totally forgot about that. I'm like, how many arenas have you ever been into where a guy dumps a bucket of beer on your head and you forgot about that? He says, concussions, man, concussions.
That sounds like him. Yeah, when we were here, I think he had moved over and was playing for Wilkes-Barre.
Wilkes-Barre, yeah. Yeah, and honestly, like wherever he went, they loved to hate him. But when he was on the team, they loved him as a teammate as well. Yeah, one of those
Brad Mark players.
Yeah.
Then you think he should be out of hockey if he's not on your team.
Yeah, exactly. So, well, Crystal, I want to thank you for coming on the show as well and sharing your Hershey Cubs.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, for your organization as well. And I wish you and Bruce all the best, as well as Brady as well, and Brennan, your coach.
Yep.
And for next year as well. And I'll come down next year and have another look at the team that you guys are down there as well. So anything that we can do for you in the meantime, just let us know as well. And thanks for being on the show.
Thank you. Have a great day, and can't wait to have you come back.
Thanks, Crystal. That was Crystal Boudreau from the Hershey Cubs. I was going to say the Chicago Cubs. The sweetest place on earth, Hershey, Pennsylvania. If you get the chance to go there, I highly recommend it. And that's not just the Ferris Bueller line. That's real. So without any further ado, we'll bring up my producer, Cam LaRocque, and we'll see what his Gen Z experience was with our podcast. Cam, what did you think?
Chuck, it was great to hear about just the tight-knit community they got down in Hershey. I'm an Ontario kid. I don't hear a lot about the Pennsylvania area, so it's nice to hear about they got a little similar attitude when it comes to hockey and community that we do down here. Everyone loves hockey down here. That's nothing new. It's Ontario, it's Canada, it's the game. But it's good to hear about it in a different state, different area of the world, and glad they share the love that we do down here.
Yeah, and I didn't want to say this on air for Crystal as well, but I mean, like what happened to Ricky Leas this year is a tremendously traumatic event as well. And stuff like this happens in sports, and it's just a matter of like, how well are you prepared for that as well? And I'm just so overjoyed that the Cubs organization is just so ahead of the curve with these things. That's every parent's worst nightmare. So we want to give a big shout out to Ricky Leas as well and his family. Let him know that we're thinking about him. We're sending him big healing love as well. He's a good kid with good hockey hair. We're going to send him a good package of Mark Anthony hair products, which goes a long way for a kid's confidence as well. So that way this happens, and we wish him well as well. So Ricky, if you're watching, man, we got your back, and we're really thinking about you. And we want to thank the Boudreaux for taking such good care of an organization who takes care of its people as well. It's amazing stuff. So. And with that, I'm going to say goodbye. I want to thank our good sponsor, Johnny Prasulis over at Holy Chuck Burgers. It's not just a great name, it's actually a great burger. It'll give you the meat sweats every single time, and it's a great customer service experience. Our good friends over at Mark Anthony Hair Products, and as well our friends at Maxwell Clothiers and Padskins as well. If you feel like a pro, you will play like a pro. So thanks for tuning in. I know that you could have been anywhere you wanted to be today. Overjoyed you took the time to jump in today and hear about the Hershey Cubs organization. And we want to thank you for your patronage as well. If you like it, please subscribe, comment, or share. Sharing is caring. And like we always say on Chuck's World of Infinite Mojo, people helping people. It's powerful stuff.